I'm Lynne Renal-O'Kane and I'm the Senior Nurse for Older Adults and Rehabilitation at Prospect Park Hospital. It was advertised on the Department of Health website as part of David Cameron's Dementia Challenge. I do keep an eye on the website, so when I saw it on there, I thought, well, we'll try and go for it. I've never wrote a bid before, but if you don't try, you don't get. We received just under £1 million, and that was for 2 wards, not one. We decided to use it for the dementia ward, which we were moving to. So we were currently on a smaller ward, knowing we were moving to a larger ward, so we felt it would be an ideal opportunity. And also for the ward underneath us, which is called Oakwood, as they do admit patients who have a dementia, and we felt it would be a fantastic opportunity to work in a more close and unique way with a community ward. The ward is designed exclusively for those who have dementia. We take any age group, as we know that dementia is not exclusive to those who are older in age, and so that is all that we deal with. So the functional illnesses of older adults actually go on to a sister ward called Orchid. Rowan Ward can support up to 20 patients, and we do have a defined separate area for male and female patients. That's actually quite a difficult question to answer because every patient is quite unique in their circumstances, in how they come in. So the reasons behind why a patient might be admitted to a Rowan ward would quite often dictate the length of stay that they would have. So that could be anything from 6 weeks to perhaps 10 weeks, but that is an average stay for each patient. It's like that because we recognise that people with dementia have very, very unique qualities that we need to ensure that we work with rather than against. And so we use the design of the ward to ensure that patients remain as independent as possible. Well, some of those ideas are conversations that I've had with staff, working with those staff in dementia wards over many, many years of, what if we had, those sort of things. But that is actually based very much around research in dementia design. That's with either Bradford Dementia Group or the King's Fund. Some of those features are actually, as you say, very simple. So one of those would perhaps be the use of signage and the way that that's done. So we have very large, clear signage, which not only has the word, perhaps say TV room, but also has the picture. And we do that for a few reasons. One of those is about the dementia design, but it's also recognising the wider cultural and ethnic variety of patients that we now serve in Berkshire, and understanding that perhaps English might not be their first language, and so the use of a picture would serve very clearly to enable them to find their way around independently in the ward. It is. We've been informed that we're the first to have a cinema in a hospital, in Europe certainly. We haven't actually been able to find one elsewhere so far in the world through my connections. And the reason we have one is very clear, is we all enjoy going to watch a movie and relaxing, so why not somebody with dementia? And actually what we've seen so far in the first week of being open, it's been used every single day by patients. They're absolutely loving it, and normally, I'll just explain that normally throughout a television programme, a patient would be up and down with their anxiety levels or agitation, and the patients that have gone into the cinema have actually sat down and watched a movie throughout without moving. There's quite a few meanings behind it. One of it's about my own personal experience as a carer and understanding how it feels to perhaps receive some difficult news or some news that you're not particularly wanting to hear, which is normally delivered in sort of meeting room with doctors, etc., and people you don't really know. And that's actually makes the receiving of that news more difficult. So we felt if we actually had a room where people could receive it in a more safe and comfortable environment, then it might be easier to actually take on board. It's also a result of many conversations with carers over the years about what they would like if they had the opportunity, and knowing that we would actually really relish working with families in a closer way. Thinking about if you had a family member who was very physically unwell or perhaps sadly at end of life, that you would not want to leave them, that you would want to stay with them. And it's about giving the families a facility that they can perhaps eat a meal together, stay over, really occupy that room as their room to use while they're there, and also actually sleep over and stay with the patient, stay with the rest of the family during that very difficult period. Yeah, well, we've got quite a different series of lighting. So if you just take the lighting in the corridors, for instance, they're all white LEDs in sort of the normal rooms, and that's because white LED is a very clear, bright light. It gives very few shadows, and that's very important for someone with Lewy body dementia, because they can misinterpret some of those shadows as other more frightening things. The other thing we've done with the lighting in the corridors, during the night, it's actually on a sensor. So if someone was to get up and all the lighting's off, the lighting would actually come on in front of them, so as they're not actually walking around in the dark, because obviously there would be times where maybe a nurse would be busy with someone around the other side of the ward. What we've also done in 4 bedrooms, they're called Healwell rooms, and they're quite unique in that they have a panel within the room, which if the patient would normally get up at say 7:30 in the morning, instead of having a nurse knock on the door sort of good morning, time to get up, which actually, as we know ourselves, when an alarm goes off, it can be quite sort of upsetting and quite distressing. So what we actually do is at 7 o'clock the light would start to come on, and very, very gradually the light would build into almost a sunrise effect. And what we find from the light panel is actually it replicates very much a daylight. So it's very clear light. What we also have within those rooms is a light that the patients can control over their actual bed. So they can actually have a light they would like for reading, or perhaps they can actually dim that light, and perhaps if they just don't like having being in the dark during the night, if they find that quite frightening. We also have quite a unique area at the front of those Healwell rooms where we can change the colour of the lighting. So we can have perhaps a blue or a yellow hue, which can actually perhaps provide a completely different environment, different feel to the room, which would be very important if someone perhaps was at end of life, where we could make the room feel very soft and very calm, for instance. In a couple of other rooms, we've got a new series of lighting which we can change from 6 different colours within the lighting that's existing in those rooms. And we've been informed we're actually the first in Europe to have that lighting. So we feel that that's quite an advantage. Our patients are really getting something quite new and unique for themselves. There's been a lot of thought put into the type of decor and the style and sort of age, if you like, of the feel of the ward. And that's quite purposeful, because what we wanted to get away from is what most people feel a dementia ward should, or perhaps always has felt like, which was sort of a 1940s sitting room, those sort of things. It's about recognising that our age group are changing. It's about understanding that we do have patients with a younger person with dementia. So you could have people in their 40s or 50s. There's something very iconic around some of the 50s feel, and that even myself at a younger age, at sort of 41, certainly recognises that 50s sort of retro cinema feel. And that's the sort of area we've done, because that feels very recognisable to any age group, and so we wanted to sort of use that. The reason we haven't used a lot of older sort of furniture and things like that is because we do want it quite fresh, quite clean and stylish look. It's not about replicating the 1940s, it's about making something quite future-proof for our patients so that they can feel and actually receive the type of environment that they deserve. in the respect of, if you were to walk on, a lot of people have thought, oh, actually, this is a lovely, you've used this to make it look bright. But actually, there's a lot of thought and research gone into the use of the colour, but also the colours themselves. So if you were to walk in the dining room, perhaps, you would notice that there's quite a bright sort of red stroke orange colour. Now, we know that red is a good colour for stimulating appetite. We couldn't, of course, use a very bright red in there because it would be quite intense, and we've used it on a side wall rather than a front wall, simply because it would be quite overwhelming on that room. So we've used the colour very carefully in there, and of course we've used colour even things in the crockery, because we know that patients with a particular type of dementia have trouble recognising white food on a white plate, for instance. So by using red plates, they can actually recognise all food. And I think that was very noticeable with the gentleman we had who has been not being able to eat a meal for many, many months, really struggling with his eating, and on the very first day of moving into the ward has actually gone in and eaten a full meal straight away. The carers have been extremely positive. Some of the reactions we got were actually on the open day, where they came round, some of our past carers as well as present carers, and they were very, very positive about the environment. They really liked the use of the family room, they liked the garden room, they liked the feeling of space. They really liked the reception area, where it felt very welcoming and very open and airy. We've had a continuation of that feeling really since we've been opened this week with the families that have come on. The family room has not been stopped in the usage. So what we've been able to do is encourage people who previously didn't have a room on the ward to be able to visit perhaps with young grandchildren, where it's actually really important for someone with dementia to keep that family link. And it's been very difficult to do that on the previous ward. We've been able to carry that on. Thinking about the patient reactions, myself and a doctor actually sat at the reception area where we were welcoming patients onto the ward when staff were bringing them on. Their faces were just open-mouthed, smiling, gasping at the new ward. Members of staff took them round to orientate them, show them different areas, and sort of show them how to find their way around by using the clear, bright, bold signage and the use of colour. The first batch of patients came straight round to me. I asked them what they thought. It was the sort of views were, it's brilliant, it's lovely, thank you. And then a group of gentlemen said straight away, can we go and watch a movie in the cinema? Which has been in use ever since. I guess the main thing that we wanted to achieve was turning what can be quite a difficult experience for patients and carers into a very positive one. So it's using the space in a very sort of therapeutic and a sort of healing process, really. So using the lights, the colours, the environment, the type of activities that we can offer patients and carers, of course, within the environment was really to try and turn around the whole experience into one where they leave feeling that it was actually a worthwhile one, and without feeling, have any negative or difficult memories that could last from a hospital experience.